What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got a little treat here for you today. We're gonna wrap the F-type hood in one piece using Avery satin white. Now, can this be done with any film for the most part? Yes, it can. We're using Avery today, so it's a little bit easier than some other films as far as just the natural pliability goes, but any other film is gonna allow you to stretch it and get it to where you need it to be in order to wrap this hood in one piece. Now, this hood is 63-ish, 64-ish inches in length, and it's about 84 inches wide, all right? So the hood actually goes into the fenders a little bit. Now, the products that I'm using today are going to be listed in the description below, and on top of that, don't forget about the website. Again, if you haven't subscribed to that, there's going to be new product releases and things like that. And eventually I'll have an exclusive membership for you guys. Anyways, don't forget, I'll put a link in the description below as well. All right, so we're gonna be running this vinyl obviously across the hood because no vinyl comes anywhere close to 84 inches. I've cut this piece at 90 inches. So, you know, we've got a little extra on the ends. I don't wanna cut myself short, especially with such a large piece of vinyl. Now, what you want to do when you're doing this, in my opinion, there might be another way to do it, especially if you're doing this alone, it's going to be very difficult to stretch a large area, all right? So stretching a large area, that would be the front end of the hood. If I had to stretch this whole area down here 4 inches or 3 inches or whatever, it's going to be much more difficult, all right, because of our surface area. But if I come to the corner over here, well, now we just have this thinner piece of vinyl that we have to stretch over here. Much, much easier. So if you want to see how I did this with chrome, check out the Mustang video. I'll put a link up there for you. But yeah, check it out. I did it in chrome, one piece using vivid satin red chrome. And yeah, it was not quite as big as this hood, but this hood is definitely a bit larger. I don't know if you could do it with 60-inch chrome. Maybe, maybe not. Again, stretching 4 inches over a 60-inch piece, if you could stretch it over a 60-inch piece, isn't really that much stretch. You're looking at like 2%, a little less. But, you know, typically we can't stretch it over a 60-inch piece unless you have 2 people. So we're gonna do this on the back side there with 1 person. So what I wanna do is I wanna get this to the end of the hood, about maybe an inch. I want to get it pretty close, okay? This means that we're not going to be moving the vinyl around a lot, right? We don't have a lot of room to move the vinyl around a lot. So what I've done here is I've removed the hood vents. Those are going to be wrapped in gloss carbon fiber. And I've prepped this entire surface with isopropyl alcohol. And I've used a compressor to blow away all the contaminants because this is a massive hood. On top of that, I've prepped this car using a clay bar so that we don't have any embedded tree sap, insects, things like that in the paint. All right, and so what I would like to do is just kind of show you how far we are from the actual side here. Or sorry, from the end of the hood. So it's not too bad actually. I thought it was a little bit more. I've got a pretty good lineup in the front, so it should be fine. This is really not going to be bad at all if I can keep this in the spot that it is. I'm going to go back to the front and reassess it because I feel like I might be a little close to the edge and not giving myself an inch. No, we have about an inch more or less all the way across, so we're good. All right, well that's a bonus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera back. My mic is a little finicky, so I'm trying to be very smooth with the camera. So what I want to do is I want to tack this side down. I don't want it to move at all. Now this car is not magnetic. This makes things a little bit more challenging when it comes to that. All right. And then this side's gonna have to pivot a bit. So let's see, are we still, we're short. See, brought up the other corner and I'm about an inch short now on the front. So it definitely has to come back a bit more. So let's bring it down and let's try and keep it as straight as possible. All right, so now we're looking more like 2.5, 3 inches from the end. That makes more sense because I know I measured this and it was pretty much 63 from the end to the very corner. That's measuring from here all the way back to this point, you know, and there's some curvature of the window there. I have a soft tape measure, so that helps to actually give me a more accurate measurement. So if you're looking for a soft tape measure, this is the guy right here, and it's super handy. It has magnets on it. Just be careful you don't drag these across the car. It can cause damage. All right. So we're ready to roll pretty much. If I'm concerned about this moving at all, what I can do is, because I don't want it to move, is tack down this end to the front bumper. And I don't want it to move. All right, so we're only like, you want to see how much I have? Half an inch or so, not much. It's about all I need as long as I don't move it too much. Now again, working with Avery, there's pros and cons to the film. It's a very thin film, doesn't really give you any paint protection. On top of that, even just by placing it down on the car and sliding this like a 1/4 inch, the little air release, what I don't know what you want to call them. They're like, not air release, sorry, pressure sensitive dots that they put in the film. And if you look very closely at the back of Avery, you'll see these in the adhesive. They're little dots, and that is what allows the film to be pressure sensitive. So they move actually. So as soon as this film drags across a high body line, it can leave little dots. Do they go away? Not so much, unfortunately. It's definitely one of the downfalls to this film. So this is massive, and I'm gonna actually get myself a little closer. Now, normally I wouldn't cut anything off, but it will be a little bit easier in this case. So I'm having issues, obviously right here, trying to keep it tacked down because I don't have any magnets. So I've anchored it to the opposite side of the fender on the lower section here. This way I'm not anchoring it to the car. But again, it's not really working out in my favor, so, because I don't want it to move. It's always fun when you're doing large pieces like this. Okay, so I'm not going to try not to drag this at all. Again, place it down. I'm tacking it actually more or less to the door. I just need to get this going, and then we're rolling. There we go. We got to keep this as flat and as smooth as possible. Look at that roll, right? Very important. This eliminates creases that we could potentially cause when we're doing this. So I don't want this other side to move. I'm going to anchor it to the front bumper. It's going to stay right there. Now we can lift up these edges here, so that way we can roll the backing paper off. Again, we're going to keep the backing paper, keep the release liner very smooth. Again, doing it alone is a little bit more challenging. So there are some cars out there that do have massive hoods like this. Again, Mustang is one of them where it's a little bit larger than the newer generation. Most are not like this. So this is kind of an exception, but I do get asked this question all the time, and a lot of you seem to have forgotten about the Mustang video, so I'll just do this one since I have one here. This car is more or less wrapped. I was waiting for a good time to do the video. I have a few more things to do on this car, like a decal. I have decals down the sides, and I'll show you how I install those. So I failed at keeping the vinyl flat at the end there and a little bit in the middle. Let's get that out of the way. So I've got one of those funny zipper lines there. It sucks. And we're just going to take a heat gun and heat them out. I've also got one right up here. There we go. So if we try to squeegee that down, it doesn't go over very well. Because as soon as you try to squeegee it down, you're going to leave the creases in the film. So those zipper lines, you gotta add a little bit of heat to get them out. Again, I got one here. We're gonna take care of this guy too. That's it. Doesn't take much. So again, I don't want to move this around too much. I'm going to anchor in the middle from the body line. Left a little air there. Try not to miss any air, especially when it comes to a large panel like this. Be thorough. If I see any of the adhesive dots, I'll let you know. And then I'll show you what they look like. The white is a little bit harder to see them, so. Squeegee, always kind of cutting through. Watch my motion when I'm squeegeeing, very important. We're not just pushing it all to the edge. Sometimes I do that, yes, but it's not really the right way to do it, for a lack of a better word. You want to make sure you're kind of keeping your squeegee on an angle at all times. So white is an extremely difficult color to see. Make sure I don't lose my mic, but I felt it. Yeah, white is an extremely difficult color to see where the air still is. So again, we can just take this and we're going to just curve it. I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to pull that way. I can actually stick it down here, and then I'll worry about this back section later. I'm going to get the front glassed out so that way I have some leverage to pull that way. I need to anchor this. Right. So as you can see, I have it anchored to the body line, and I'm going to leave it like that for now. We're going to do the same to this side. I'm going to make sure this is anchored down so I don't pull it off again. And then come across to the front slightly. I'm trying to get some curvature to the fender so that way I get a nice hug on the fender. Perfect. And then we'll just fix that up a little bit right there. So if we anchor to the body line, then there's a way lower chance of actually getting glue lines. Yes, Avery gets glue lines. It isn't as common, and they're much thinner than some other brands on the market, but it will still get glue lines. Okay, so this is looking pretty right now. This, in a sense, it would be glassing the film out. We're glassing it out, it looks like glass. In case some of you are new or wondering what that term ever meant. So I want to take a large area, and we're just going to heat. We're going to heat the whole large area. Do I have to worry about overstretching the film? Only if I'm stretching where my hand is and past the edge. That means I'm stretching over the edge, and I don't want to be doing that. So, I don't know if this would work very well with chrome. It would be very hard to do. There we go. I want to stick all that to the window. I don't want this moving at all. It's very tight across the panel. We're going to start squeegeeing this. So I'm just going to go for this spot right here, this recess. I probably don't even need any heat. Best glove right here. So if you don't have one of these, it's amazing. This is the Super Glove by Yellow Tools. Or sorry, Sign Maker Tools, not Yellow Tools. All right. So we go for the recess first because we're just going to eliminate any chance of glue lines happening. Now everything's flat again. Now, on top of that, why we go for the recess first is we're going to stretch into the lowest point. Now, normally I like to lay into recesses. With this one, with this hood being so big and oversized, and me having to stretch the vinyl the way I had to in the back corner, I don't really want to move it around too much. So I'm not going to try to lay it into the recess. It's not a very deep recess, so it's nothing to really worry about. It's just more of my preference to not stretch into recesses all the time. Make sure you're using a nice soft squeegee. That's important because it'll allow your vinyl to curve with the body panels, which is very important, obviously. So we're gonna start getting air bunched up right down here. I wanna let it out. So I'm gonna pop up the edge because the edge is sealed. There we go. If we don't let the air out, then I get a wrinkle. That's awesome. That's a really amateur move, by the way. That's my squeegeeing, and I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't squeegee over it hard enough. I did a little bit so I can kind of see it. I'm just gonna zip it with some heat. There it is. Get that sucker back where it was. So that was a amateur squeegeeing move on my part. Again, work our way out to one end. If we have access on both ends, fantastic. If we don't, there's no point in creating an exit on both sides, so we'll just do it on one side. It does have some adhesive dots, they're very minor, but if I can get them on camera, I will show you. So we'll have a look at it after. Always when you're pressing with your squeegee, firm, even pressure. You don't want to be leaving air behind. Don't be shy. That's that little wrinkle on the corner there, and I fixed it up and we're good. So I'm gonna examine this from my profile right down here, make sure I don't see any air. We're gonna go the other side. I'll bring the heat gun just in case. To make this a little bit easier for the stretch, I could have cut out the window area. It would have had a little bit less resistance. It's not a big deal. Again, I'm going to do this first right now, so I'll cut out the window area actually right now. And this will show you that it'll give me a little bit less resistance, more of like a tab to work with here and here. A little bit easier. Again, we'll make sure that's nice and stuck down on the light. Bring our heat gun over. We're gonna pick this up nicely and gently. And again, what do? We're going to heat over a large area. I'm going to try and take from this area here since it's nice and flat. Makes more sense, right? You want to be taking over the largest, flattest area possible. Excellent. So all this should shrink down. We'll check it out. And tighten up. Sure did. I've actually got slack in there a little bit. So I'm going to bring it a little bit more this way. I don't want to have that much slack in there. There we go. So remember, we're doing this alone, right? This is it's not an easy task for a lot of people to wrap a hood this size alone. But that's basically where you line it up in the front. That's your key right there. That's gonna help you maximize how much film you have on the ends. And stretching it from the back way, I think, is, in my opinion, better, going to those corners rather than bringing it all down to the front. When I'm talking talking, I'm not paying attention. I'm also not used to using a glove like this very often, so, but it's good for recesses. There we go. So you can use the glove with the squeegee, it's just a little bit more slippery. It's hard to hold the squeegee. Always angle your squeegee. Depending on the squeegee that you're using, there should be a little bit of flex to it. It shouldn't just be completely flat. So having a bit of a softer squeegee more or less helps to show you. If you wanted to, you could use a little bit of water to kind of see where you have squeegee. That would help. Typically with a satin wrap though, you're not going to want to use any kind of solution that would change its finish. So the air is going to start bunching up. I'm going to let it out the top this time just because it's accessible for me on this side. So I've got a little funny shape here. I'm just dealing with it while I squeegee. When you have like funny shapes where there's air left behind, it can make it very difficult to squeegee, okay? So you have to tackle it in a very specific way. There's a lot of glue dots over here. I do hope some of them go away. But yeah, you have to tackle them in a very specific way. It just takes a little bit more practice and feel for that kind of stuff, but you know, you'll get the hang of it as you practice. Squeegeeing is kind of just like learning how to use a fork and knife when you're younger. It's another tool, and you know, there's a correct way to use it, a better way to use it. Like any other tool. But technique, I mean, I don't know if there's a technique to hammering a nail. Maybe there is. But I don't think there's quite the same technique when it comes to hammering a nail as it is when you squeegee vinyl, when you're squeegeeing the air out. This hood is wrapped. All right, we're gonna start cutting it all out. Let's see what time we're at. 23 minutes. And cut it all out and seal up the edges and we're done. So I can take my glove off. I won't need that until we start doing the corners. I think I forgot to pop the hood, or did I not? No, I did not. It's good, it's open. I like to leave the hood popped, helps a little bit. I'm gonna tackle these corners more or less when I lift the hood up. Now, I mean, if we were to do a seam on this hood, it's not the most terrible, let's just say, for example. You'd seam it here and here for the most part. So you'd have 3 pieces. Could you do it in 2? Yeah, you could go on this body line instead, I suppose. But would it make it any shorter? No, it wouldn't actually. So you're still kind of stuck with the same thing. This would be the way to go, because that corner is still very far, so that wouldn't work out if you were to do it on that body line there. That would be the better body line in my eyes, this body line here, but it's not really going to work out in helping you not stretch the film. Good. All right, that's all good. Cut a little bit more of this away. Perfect. I'm going to fix up the corner a little bit. So again, very important when you're doing the corners, pull them out and then back. So we're stretching them apart, and then we're also pulling them back. So I should be able to lift this. This hood's interesting because it lifts up this way. Should be able to lift that from the back. We're just going to cut out the front around the lights. These are just easy. I'm going to leave myself the extra vinyl I mean, for a hood, this hood is actually very clean. There's not a lot of stone chips in it at all. This car was previously wrapped. I did see some of the wrap that was left behind from the last shop. It was 3M before. So I'm going to leave myself a nice little tab on the corner down here. I'll leave myself a little bit more of a chunk to be able to do a nice corner. So same deal down here. That out of the way, just about ready to lift it. As soon as I cut this out, we're good. When we're cutting, remember, don't put too many clicks out on your blade. We don't want to be cutting into things that are not meant to be cut into. And the further out your blade will also cause instability. Lift it, and that's just going to allow me to do that cut without cutting on anything. Good. So I'll make sure I'm off all the corners, off the edges here. Looks good. Make sure this little tab is not stuck on anything. That's good. This one should be fine. And then back here, we should be good. Just take my time. I think the hood locked on that side. So, no, maybe not. Maybe it's just stuck with the vinyl. There we go. Perfect. So I'll try and leave it like this so I can give you guys a better visual. I'll actually bring the camera around. Why not? All right. When it comes to the corners, this one's already actually really good. I don't have to do anything with that. I've already pre-stretched it and it's shrinking around on its own. The one down here, again, what we do, there's the corner. We're gonna take it, I'm gonna spread the vinyl outward and then pull it also back towards you guys and let it come around. This way it pulls in 3 directions. It pulls in this way and it pulls in that way. As soon as we add heat, it goes shabam, that's it. So we get a nice little corner. We got one little wrinkle there. Again, it's going to be more around the back side, but I can assist that out right now. And that's good. We'll just check out the top, make sure that's all solid. You can see no wrinkles running in this direction. Very important. I'm going to come down in this area here. We're going to do a similar thing. Do it with one hand. You don't really need to add a lot of heat when you're doing the corners. For the most part, you can cold stretch a lot of films. Even 5mm Vivid, you can cold stretch. Heat, I'll just use to accelerate it a little bit, just to make it faster, so I can not wait for it to stretch. As soon as I go over everything with heat and make sure everything's nice and locked in, let's push that down a little bit. Then we're going to cut. It's a far reach. So I'll bring you back to the front. So at least 3 passes. I'll do like 4 or 5 passes usually, because we're going to start at the top and start rolling the film over. When I get to the ends, I'll just kind of roll it over myself. Again, down here, so you can see this corner right here. Let's just take it, and not even add any heat. I'm gonna pull it outward and bring it around, okay? As soon as I bring it around, we're good. We'll just lock it in a little bit, leave it right there. We'll add a touch of heat, kiss it, and finesse it up a little bit, and that's it, it's done. Same deal on the other side. That's why I left myself that nice little tab. It's like a little thing I do. I don't know, I just do it all the time. I have other videos where I do corners, so same deal. Perfect. Again, it's easy to get one wrinkle out. If your corners look like a Coke or a bottle cap, then it's going to be more difficult. So, well, I got one, just trying to get it out, fold it over itself here. My squeegeeing the film around wasn't exactly the nicest. There we go. If you pass too quickly around the edge with your finger, and if you're not using a glove, you're even more likely to get a wrinkle on the edge. You don't want that. Not after you work so hard. You don't want to have a wrinkle on the edge. Again, they're solvable. You can get them out. It's not like the end. It's not the end of the world. So I'll do up this area real quick, and then we'll head back over. I'm going to show you a little bit what glue dotting or glue dots look like. Air release dots. There's probably a technical word for it, or maybe no one's come up with one yet. I don't know. I mean, they've been around for a long time. Again, to me, these are not nearly as bad as glue lines. I'll take these any day. But when you first don't know what they are, it can kind of seem like you got dirt under your wrap. Kind of. Not quite the same, but it can give you that illusion. All right, so I got a lot of tension here, and I'm going to alleviate that by doing that. I just want to get the corner fixed up. My piece folded over itself. It's a really nice corner. It's just I'm gonna have a wrinkle on the very bottom, and I don't want that. Sorry, I'd move the camera over, but I'm just gonna deal with this right now. There we go. Can't quite reach it all. I'll be able to reach it when I put the hood down. So for now, we're gonna trim. I'm just going to leave the hood exactly where it is, and I'm going to start at the top corner on this side because I'm right-handed, and I can actually start here because I can reach. Just make sure everything's nice. When I teach people how to do hood wraps, I teach them how to make this line really clean. Usually this line right here is on the front of the hood, not on the back, but this is an exceptional car with an exceptional hood. So it opens up reverse and it's massive. But because we don't have a nice body line in the back, so if we were trying to cut between like a gap where the window is, there's nothing there that's going to give us a nice line to make a nice cut. Last thing we want to do is cut on the paint, so we're just going to make sure that we're not doing that when we run the back of our blade along the edge. Now, getting a nice straight cut by running the back of your blade on the edge is the difficult part, but I use my middle finger as a guide, keep the blade straight, and I pull kind of down and out, keep a little tension on the film, and this keeps my line nice and straight. We'll hit it all with heat afterwards, and that'll be it. Now keep in mind when I'm doing this, I'm not leaving a lot of vinyl, right? I have very, very minimal amount of vinyl. But as long as I'm not stretching to the edge, which I'm not, then we're not gonna have an issue with vinyl pulling back. So let's just see if I can drop the hood down a bit and access this. Wrinkle there, there we go. A little air there, there we go. go. Couldn't see it when it was up. Now I can see it. So again here, I'm just gonna be very gentle where I lean, and a little tension, and keep with my left hand and keep pulling. When I need to reposition my left hand because I can't reach any further, I stop and then I start again. And I make sure my line is nice and straight, because I don't want to have an inconsistent line. Okay, that should be good. A little bit more over here. There. So let's figure out where I started. Take your time when you start again. It's a little more awkward on this side for me. Get this out of here. I'll lift it up. Just wanted to check out my wrinkles. Just want to see where they are so I know where to cut. Because they're on the bottom. There's going to be wrinkles on the bottom because as soon as you take excess film and bunch it up underneath, you're going to get wrinkles. Doesn't matter. So the whole trick to doing corners really nicely, another trick to it, is to not leave too much film. The more film you leave around the corner, the harder it is to make it look nice. So it's looking sweet. And I'll start with this side because it's going to be easier for me. And as soon as I'm done, I'll cut up the vents. We go over all of it with heat, and I'll show you everything. Cut off here. This excess on my corner, again, I don't need it anymore. It was just that little tab that I had left to make it nice. And then here, there she is. All right, let's put the hood down. We're gonna do the vents. So I know there's some holes in the vents. So we can stretch the vinyl in, it's not a big deal. The vents themselves, they go back in. And then it'll also help kind of hold it. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna push all this in, and then I'm just gonna cut out the actual vent where the holes are. So this way we're not cutting on any paint. Again, if you're worried about it sticking or lifting, it's not gonna lift. I mean, you can go over it or post heat it, but you'll be fine. Even if it did, those vents are there, so those vents are actually gonna hold that film down or keep anything that's lifting underneath there invisible. What I meant to show you also before we started was, in the beginning, there was some friction between the plastic inserts that go in here and then the actual hood itself. So friction means a couple of things. Obviously it's starting to wear away the paint, so that's not good. But again, that's manufacturer standards. It happens with a lot of cars. Friction also means something else. Friction also means that if the vent is vibrating or moving at a different rate than the actual hood, they could actually twist the vinyl, and that could cause a problem with it looking a little bit wrinkled. I mean, you guys kind of get the idea right now of how it looks. I'm not going to cut out the vents, it's not a big deal. I'll show you around the corners. So let me just, I haven't even heated them yet, but I'll let you look anyways. I'll make sure they're acceptable for you to look at. Excuse me. Let's do it. So let's check out the backside edge. All right, not a whole lot of vinyl there. We don't need a whole lot because we didn't stretch to it. All right, so you can see corners, everything looks nice, even down on the bottom. Can't really show you that with the camera, but we'll bring around to the other side here and show you over here. So again, I haven't even touched it with heat yet. That's just how it looks. All the way across and then all the way down, nothing to hide here. So as I was saying, if we're to, sorry, put the camera down. So if we're to actually put this hood down and we wanted to cut this edge, how would we do it nicely? Because, you know, a lot of people get used to trimming in between the doors or in between the doors or the fender or whatever. I'm just gonna move this back so you can see the gaps I'm talking about. So again, there's a gap right here, right? A lot of people just get used to trimming on the opposite side. So it's, what are you gonna do in the back section where the window is when there's no gap? The gap could be 5 inches, 3, 4, 5 inches. You're not gonna get a nice cut. There's that. And so I wanted to show you just how you can run your blade on the back side of the car and the back side of the panel and get that look, you know, get that effect where it's going to be nice and straight, it's all sealed in, it's all wrapped around the edge, and everything looks good. That's just how you do it. So guys, if you enjoyed this hood wrap video, don't forget to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe when you want to see some more videos. Again, a link to all the products in the description below, including the film itself, and that's it. Again, I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.